Hey guys, D1sco, and I apologize for how late this video is. I did do a community post. I think it was a couple days after the appropriate time that I should have done this, but it didn't work out. And of course, nobody saw it because YouTube doesn't push out community posts at all, really, except for certain ones. It's very odd. But anyways, yeah, so I unfortunately missed, so today I'm reacting to the Dead by Daylight 10.1.0 PTB patch notes, which is, I should have played. I, I was unable to do the, PTB for anyone that was wondering. I tried to. I have now missed this PTB and a couple others. I'm upset about that. I'm glad Orange did upload his first video in a while, and it was a PTB video, because I saw his video already. So I at least got to see some gameplay of the new stuff a little bit. But yeah, the reason why I didn't get to, and I'll try to make this quick so we can jump into this, because I need to play catch up with videos. I'm very behind right now. Basically, I wasn't able to. My schedule has changed a lot lately to the point where I have, like, basically no free time. I do have free time online. I get, like, I've gone 2 days of free time a couple times now, but I also had some family stuff going on some of those days recently, and some days I'm just so exhausted from my busy schedule, I just don't end up filming. So I'm very happy to be doing this now. But yeah, so I it's crazy to think that I took so long. The character is already out by the time I'm filming this. Man, it's crazy. Yeah, I think that's going to be a recurring issue for a while. It's just that busy schedule. I do like the picture. The fact that they have pictures now. Usually, right, this is all just text, like I'm currently scrolling through. That's fine, but it takes forever to get through. But I'm happy that there's a picture now, so that way I can actually see, like, visually some of the stuff, if that makes sense. So we got the Chorus of Sin, I guess is what this chapter is called. So we got new killer, the Judgment. There's their little picture. New survivor, Aurora. Okay, perk updates. Oh boy, why are they so small? So we have Adrenaline, Apocalyptic, something. Can I make this bigger? No. I cannot read that. Apocalyptic, Ingenuity, Call of Brine, Keep Them Waiting, which I think is one of the Michael perks that they had to, like, re-change the name of. Because when they lose licenses, they have to change the perk names. They keep the perks, but they have to, like, change the name. So I'm assuming that's one of those perks. Deliverance, Clean Break, Moment of Glory, Nowhere to Hide, Repressed Alliance, Visual Technician, Sprint Burst, Nurses Calling, Colorophobia, and Hex Thrill of the Hunt. Thrill of the Hunt is a perk I, like, rarely see, you know what I mean? It's not bad, but it's like, I feel like it just doesn't affect gameplay enough for people to want to use it. And then we have gameplay and features. So we have gameplay showcase, unhook protections adjustment. So let's just jump into this. So we got the new killer, the Judgment. So the killer power is called Will of the Gods, Divine Light. So you press and hold the power button, M2, to summon Divine Light for up to 3 seconds. Divine Light moves away from the Judgment and is controlled with camera controls left-right only. While in this state, Divine Light does not damage survivors. If Divine Light passes through obstacles, it slows down. While controlling Divine Light, press the attack button M1 to cast it forward. When cast It enters a brief delay before it fully activates, damaging and applying heresy to any survivors hit. Survivors inflicted with heresy are known as heretics, obviously. The longer the Divine Light is controlled, the shorter the cast delay, and the longer the cast duration. Divine Light has a 6-second cooldown. If I remember correctly from Orange's video, which is the only video I've seen of the PTB, I believe this is the one where she had a thing she could do with her power, where there was this light that would appear, and then that light, like, it was like a pillar of light, and I'm assuming that's what this is. I might be misremembering, but I think that's what this is. And she had like a, I don't know if bolt, and then she had like, I think something else she could shoot out, but I don't remember that one very well. Zealous, press the secondary ability button, L control, to exile a heretic in the dying state, gaining Zealous. If they have 2 hook states, they are killed instantly. Killed in sit. I believe I saw Orange do this a couple of times in his video. Exiling a survivor gives them a hook state, while when exiling a heretic, the 2 closest shrines of judgment become active. Zealous lasts for 60 seconds. Gain killer instinct on all heretics for 3 seconds. Only applies to survivors with full heresy. While Zealous increases Divine Light's size by 10%, decrease Divine Light's cooldown by 20%, maintain control of Divine Light for up to 0.3 seconds. The longer it is controlled before being cast, the lower it will be starting at 1 second. So I'm not entirely sure what. That's kind of cool. I do like the uniqueness with this killer. I remember Orange and when he was playing the PTB, he was talking about how this killer doesn't, like, how some of the other killers you can find similarities between them and someone else. And it's like, I remember him talking about, yeah, there's a couple things you can maybe consider to be similar to others, but they were just different enough that it wasn't, like, completely the same. Then we have Exile. Exile acts like a hook, but does not trigger hook-related perks. Upon entering Exile, survivors receive a Searcher's Pendant, which is a limited item. If I remember, I think I vaguely remember kind of how this looks in game, except obviously I saw Orange playing only as the killer, so I don't know what this looks like from the survivor's perspective. Exile is filled with dangerous seeds of punishment that reduce a survivor's sacrifice timer by 1 second. I think Orange was telling me somewhere that, like, there was some sort of not platforming, but there was, like, something that, like, you were in that area, there's something happening, like, pillars or something, and you have to, like, dodge those while you wait, or something like that. Because if you don't, then you, like, run out of more time. Exile is also filled with helpful exiled souls. Hold the use item button to point the Searcher's Pendant at exiled souls to collect them. And I believe that is one of the, like, good things you need to do. For each exiled soul collected up to 10, survivors get additional 0.05 seconds to default on hook protections. 10% haste, endurance, and elusive. Exiled souls no longer grant additional protections once all generators are completed. And then survivors who aren't in exile can pray on active Shrine of Judgment, Howling Red to rescue exiled survivors. Yeah, something like you can't, like, leave that state or something on your own. You, like, need your teammate to bring you back or something. Very strange. This killer is very complicated. I was trying to figure it out from watching gameplay, you know, Orange's video, and I was lost. Heresy. Heresy is gained when hit by the Divine Light or by taunting the Judgment. Crouching repeatedly, gesturing, or lingering in the X area. Ellipses, just leave. So, I want to talk about that for a second here because Orange did tell me about this, and that was before he started to upload his video. I happened to see him like a couple days before he uploaded it, or at least started that process, and he was telling me about that part, and we both liked it because there's certain things that are very, very annoying that some Survivor players like to do. Just because, you know, they're supposed to be interpreted in a frustrating way. So, crouching repeatedly is one of those. Just as an example, I know I've seen videos, right, where a survivor of pallet stunned the killer, and then they just start spamming the crouch button after they after they get the killer stun with the pallet. They just start spamming the crap out of the crouch button. Other ones, and then of course, some people even like to do that in the exit area, because spamming the crouch button is supposed to be seen as like teabagging. It's the same thing as teabagging, basically. It's just this game's equivalent version to teabagging. So it's supposed to be seen as very demeaning and very demoralizing and stuff. The gesturing or lingering in the exit gate is also interesting because because survivors do like to do gestures, like they like to point a lot in the exit gate sometimes. Sometimes they point at each other, other times they just point at you randomly or like behind you or something. They do like to do the come here gesture. So you have pointing, which is the one where you like stick your finger out, and that's the one that's used for booping the Snoop and stuff. And I think like petting Maurice and stuff is the point. And then the come here gesture is the one where they like move their hand kind of towards them. And that one especially I know gets used a lot. It does get used helpfully if it's a survivor doing it to a survivor, but if you're doing it to a killer, it's not always. Sometimes it's very frustrating because you're using it to the. Because sometimes you're using it against the killer, and you're trying to like bait them into a trap or be a toxic player. And of course, when I say toxic, I just mean you like to be someone that just wants to suck the fun out of the game. You're doing the gesture of on purpose to like be taunting the player, like which is frustrating. So I'm happy that we have a killer now that can deal with that stuff a little bit. I need to read a little bit more of the heresy stuff to see exactly like what that does to you when you're in the exit gate and you're doing that, but it is nice to see that behavior was just kind of like, they've known this is a big problem. They have stuff to try to help, but a lot of that stuff you have to personally equip. And some of their like kind of new stuff added to the game to help just always, some of those are kind of whatever, so it's kind of interesting that they're like, let's just give some of the stuff to a killer and see how it goes, like let's give the killer themselves some things that they can do here. Heretics suffer from special skill checks. I do remember hearing about those a little bit. While repairing generators, good skill checks results cause the generator to lose some progress. So you want great skill checks. I think that's a fun way to do it. There's other perks that give special skill checks, and they can be hard, like Call of Brine. I think it's called Brine, but there's one where there's one killer perk where they do some kind of I think they have to mess with the gen to activate it or something, or maybe not, but it's like once per gen, you get this like I remember now. It's the it's like Call of Brine or something like that. It's the Sadika one where it like moves faster and faster as you get skill checks. And I remember in a video where I ended up getting kind of a free add up because the killer was being like friendly, but they had that perk. I remember getting shamed for missing skill check. I'm like, I'm still not good at these. You know what I mean? Like, it's not my fault I got it wrong. I still suck against that perk. It's so difficult it's so difficult to actually time it right. It's very annoying for me. Um, but I kind of like the idea of heresy giving special skill checks, and then if you get even if you get a good result on it, you still lose progress. Like you still make the gen lose some progress. So that's kind of interesting. Heretics can repent at a shrine of judgment to begin depleting their heresy over time. Yeah, I mean that's kind of nice. The judgment's divine light control settings. Sensitivity settings exclusive to the judgment. This setting can be found in the general settings tab under beta. Then the judgment control settings. Okay, that's all they're going to tell us on that. So I guess that's just to help make sure that divine light moves the way you want it to, I guess. And then we have new killer perks. These are always interesting to see. I like seeing new perks because new perks are universal. You can use them on anyone in that side, especially the killer ones. So let's see them. I'm curious. So we have Celestial Witness. Every 30 seconds, if the accession is at least 40 meters away from you, you see their aura for 2, 2.5, and then 3 seconds. Otherwise, the hardest survivor becomes the obsession. Hex under your thumb. The first time a survivor gains a hook state, a dual totem ignites. Whenever a running survivor gains haste within 32 meters of you, you are alerted. Running survivors cannot gain more than 25, 20, 15% haste at a time. So Celestial Witness is okay sounding to me. I like it for being able to see auras. You don't see auras for very long. It's so like if you're doing something and the perk just happens to go off, you're probably not going to notice it if you're doing something within that every 30 seconds. But if you're not, like, yeah, that might give you an idea of like, okay, I at least know there's a survivor in this area, so I'm going to start to go over here to, potentially deal with them. Hex under your thumb is just okay. It sounds kind of situational to me, a little bit, because you need a survivor to be decently close to you and running. And I get that, like, out like in a chase setting, yeah, of course. Like, in a chase, yeah, no, this is very helpful for chases, but outside of being actively in a chase, I'm kind of just like, I'm not sure how much value you would get out of this perk outside of a chase, just because I feel like 32 meters is kind of close for a survivor to be like running like with you around. I feel like some survivors, of course, play differently than others, but in my experience, um, they only really like run if they're by you, if they're actively in like a chase with you. Otherwise, I feel like for the most part they try to like walk around, just like completely walk the whole time, or they try to or they run but in short sort of bursts, if that makes sense. They try not to like run so much that there's the scratch marks, those little scratch mark things that you leave everywhere. So but that's just me. So yeah, I do think under your thumb, as long as it'll work in a chase, I feel like that perk is fine. That can be pretty helpful because you're making sure that they don't get like too much haste, or limiting how much haste that they get. And I think that could be very helpful. I just, if it doesn't work inside of chase, then it's kind of whatever to me. But as long as it works in chase, like, yeah, that's a fairly decent perk to help you like get caught up with people. And finally, we have Lay Waste, which is whenever you damage a generator for each charge it has, it regresses 2% faster. Cooldown is 55, 50, 45%. That's kind of interesting. So it regresses faster depending on how far they get. So if you like got super lucky and they only like 99% the gen, by the time you got there, that should be losing like, if I'm wording this right, that should be regressing at like the maximum like rate then, technically, because if it hits 100, the gen has already gone off. But still, I kind of like the idea of that perk, like regressing based on the amount that they gave. Because most of the regression perks, they don't do that. They regress by a certain amount, and some of them have things where like they can kind of regress more, but you have to like do certain things first. I kind of like lay waste. I feel like her perks overall aren't that bad. I feel like they're fairly good, and again, as long as you can use under your thumb in a chase, I do think that one, as long as it's used in a chase, it's going to be very useful. So we have the new survivor, Aurora. So we have her perks now. So we have Fruits of Your Labor. Whenever a generator is completed, you earn 1 token. Whenever you finish repairing a generator for each token, you gain 5% haste for 2 seconds and 10, 15, 20% healing progress. Not bad. Salvation's Cry. Whenever the killer starts chasing you, you see the auras of other survivors. 1, 2, 3 seconds. Little interesting that the killer has to be chasing you for you to see that, but okay. Well, I'm not going to judge it yet. Survivors not being chased see your aura for 5 seconds. Survivors not being chased see the killer's aura for 5 seconds. That's kind of the interesting part to me. So, what's useful, I guess the 3 seconds of you being able to see the auras of other survivors can be good, so you know not to go in certain directions to like lead the killer towards your helper, towards your teammates. And then being able to see your aura, I guess, can be kind of helpful, that they can see your and the killer's aura, so that way they kind of know where you guys are. So I feel like to some extent, this is decent. And then we have Boon Steadfast. While next to a totem, use E to bless it, creating a unique boon totem that combines all your boons. What? I will say this about boons. You can kind of combine them already, but it sucks to me that they nerfed at least one of the Michaela ones, Boon Circle of Healing, so much to the point where it killed all other boons. I actually kind of enjoyed Yorichi's because his is the speed one. It makes you guys faster in its radius. I remember when Yorichi released, I got the achievement. I think first match trying to get his ad up. Because I managed to bless a totem in that match. And I got enough, and there was like one survivor that was being chased like a bunch or something like that, and he happened to be in the radius of my totem enough that I got the achievement where you have to like boost teammates, I think, speed, like give them haste like 50 times or 30 times, something like that. And I got that all in one match because of the boon, which was really funny. So Generous was in the boon's rage, regressed 50% slower. That's already very nice sounding. Survivors repair them 8, 9, 10% faster. That also sounds very helpful. And of course, survivors within the boon's rage see the auras of affected generators. So honestly, I kind of like Boon Steadfast. That's a fairly good sounding perk actually. I kind of like that. So content, we have some base game updates. So the unhook protections. Anytime a survivor's unhooked, they gain endurance and 10% haste for 10 seconds, well, it's 15 seconds, so that was a small nerf, unfortunately. Anytime a survivor's unhooked, they gain elusive for 10 seconds. New, this does not apply once all generators are powered. And elusive is something that I'm still not fully used to being in the game now. It's a fairly new update, but still, that's kind of cool that they do gain elusive now. So killer perk updates, which we got a small preview earlier as to what these would be. So let's actually see what they did to them, shall we? So we have Nurse's Calling up first. Within 28, 30, 32 meters of survivors who are healing or being healed, you see their auras. Reveals all survivors in a healing interaction regardless of their health state. So I forget what this perk did before, but I know Nurse's Calling was like pretty much all of Nurse's perks are never used. I think there's one that people I know they tried to change, I think, Fanatophobia a couple years ago, but it just wasn't good. Not that it wasn't good, but it just, they not only decided to reverse that decision because they made it too powerful, but they also nerfed it and made it worse numbers wise than it was before, which is crazy to think about. So the developer note for Nurse's Calling is there has been some confusion about the expected behavior. Yeah, I've definitely had some confusion with it before. within Nurses Calling, we felt it was a good opportunity to make it more consistent and clear. So I guess this was just a wording change. Call Brian, whenever you damage a generator, it regresses 30, 40, 50% faster for 90 seconds, was 76, so that got buffed, technically. For that time, whenever a survivor hits a good basic skill check while repairing this generator, you are alerted. So Call Brian is not the perk. I was thinking of the other one then that they didn't touch. Can't think of his name now. Not the Scourge Hook, it's the other one. It's like something Storm, Merciless Storm. That was the perk I was thinking. Call Brian's the other one. That's right. It's kind of cool. I kind of like that. So they buffed Call Brian by making it last longer, 20 seconds longer, and then you get alerted as well now. So that's kind of nice. Colorophobia says survivors within your tear radius heal 20, 25, 30% slower, less 30, 40, 50%. So unfortunately, that got a nerf then. While healing basic skill checks spin 50% faster, but they did make it spin faster, which is huge. Because we're buffing and Nurses Calling back to its pre 9.2.0 state, I forgot it had even gotten changed at some point recently, not gonna lie. While keeping the range buff, we felt it was safer to adjust Colorophobia at the same time to decrease its synergy with certain builds. That makes sense. Now we have Hex Frill the Hunt. When the trial starts, a dual totem ignites for each dual and hex totem remaining of 1 token. For each token, survivors blessing cleanses 8, 9, 10% slower was 8, 10, 12%. So that got nerfed then. Frill the Hunt has excelled at defending totem builds in the recent patches. Yeah, we're slightly lowering its efficiency while reviewing the perk in the long term. Okay, fair enough. When we keep them waiting, whenever you damage a survivor who is not the obsession was a basic attack, you earn 1 token up to 6, 7, 8. For each token, your basic attack cooldown are 5% shorter, was 4%, so that got buffed. Whenever the obsession takes it, to lose 2 tokens, and while the obsession is dead, you cannot earn tokens at all. Fair enough. Nowhere to hide. Whenever you damage a generator for 3, 4, 5 seconds, you see the orders as survivors within 18 meters of you with 24 meters. So that's a nerf then. We are planning to update this perk based on the reception of the above change after it was announced. Nowhere to hide will go back to 24 meters, but will reveal survivors near the generator instead of the course location. Okay, that's actually okay. That's not horrible. Survivor perk updates. So we got Sprint Burst. Whenever you start running, you gain 50% haste for 2 seconds plus 3 seconds, so that's a nerf. And then you gain Exhausted for 60, 50, 40 seconds. Apocalyptic Ingenuity. After you rummage or unlock 1 chest, while next to a broken pallet, we use input activatable button 1 for 3 seconds to create a fragile pallet with 2 chests in 4 seconds. So that's a buff then. Within 24, 20, 13 meters to the orders of broken pallets. Deliverance, once per trial. When you safely unhook another survivor, you can unhook yourself. When you unhook yourself, this way you gain broken for 160, 140.